Hello everybody, welcome. This is going to be a quick video demonstration of how to create a GitHub project and host it on GitHub Pages. So I'm going to move quickly. A couple of prerequisites: you're going to need to have an account with GitHub. You will also need to have Git installed on your computer along with VS Code in order to follow along. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and get started. I'm trying to keep this quick. So if you need to, go ahead and pause it if you ever need to catch up at any time. This is intended to be just kind of an extra resource if you're following a guide to doing this on GitHub. Just to clarify where to find things. Now keep in mind, GitHub might update their pages, so things might look a little different for you depending on when you are seeing this video and following along. All right, well, thanks for joining me. Let's go and get started. So our first step for creating a project on GitHub is we want to go up and create. We go to github.com and create a repo. So we're going to create a new repo. Now, there's more than one way to do this. This isn't intended to be an exhaustive video on all the different ways that you could host and publish a web page on GitHub Pages. So we're just going to call this project demo. And then we're going to go ahead and check to add a README file. And we'll click create the repository. We're going to wait just a moment. Once the repository is done being created, we can click the green code button here. Make sure you can either clone with SSH if you've set up an SSH key on your computer and added it to your GitHub account. If you haven't, try use HTTPS in that case. So I'm going to go ahead and use SSH for me because I already have one set up. So I'm going to copy that to my clipboard. And next up, I have Git Bash for Windows installed. So what I'm going to do is right click on my desktop and just say Git Bash here. And that way I can clone it directly onto my desktop. You may want to keep your project somewhere else in your computer. That's entirely up to you. For today, I'm going to do it right on my desktop. So I'm going to type git clone. And then I'm going to paste git at github.com. If you're on Git Bash for Windows, you can right click on the icon, the bar at the top of the window here. And if you go down to edit, you will see that there's paste there. And depending on your settings, you might have a different shortcut for that, or you can just click paste. So now that I've got my git clone command ready, I'm going to press enter. And what that's going to do is Git is going to download that repo and create a local directory in my computer on my desktop that has that project along with the version control for Git. So now if I change directories to project-demo, that's the directory that was just created by Git, we can see the folder shown up here on my desktop in the upper left-hand corner. So now that I have my initial repo, I'm going to go ahead and touch to create a file named index.html. It's really important that this file is in the root of your project. So I'm highlighting that I am in project-demo. So if I press enter, that is the root of my repo. And if I use the ls command, we can see that index.html is directly in that root. And you're going to want that. It's going to make it easy to deploy your site on GitHub Pages. So now let's open VS Code. I'm going to use the code command to open VS Code. I have that added to my path. You can check that out if you haven't done that. Do a little Google search. It's not too hard to get going if you didn't choose the option when you first installed VS Code. Okay, let's just add some basic markup to our web page. We're just going to keep it very simple and say something like hello world. And then we'll add some placeholder text. And we'll go ahead and grab an image as well. Let's go ahead and just find one on Google. Placeholder image. That looks nice. Actually, let's go to Wikipedia just to be on the safe side. So Wikimedia popular image. There we go. We'll grab one of these. That looks like fun. So we're going to go ahead and save image as. Go find this project. We'll make a new folder called images here, and we'll save it there. We're just going to call this, sure, We'll call it that. All right, and now I just did that so you can see that you can add assets. I could add style sheet, whatever I wanted to here. So we're going to add an image, and we're going to make that. We're going to copy relative path, paste it, and let's change those to forward slashes for GitHub. So images forward slash, and then the name of the image. And we want to have some good alt text for our image. So let's go back to where we got it from, Notre Dame's Spire. Oh, that's actually not a very nice image now that I realize what that is. Oh well. There we go. Actually, I'm going to change that. I didn't realize what that image was. It's pretty awful. There we go. That's better. We'll save this one instead. Train. Who doesn't like trains? So we'll put this in images train.jpg, like so. We'll say train with mountains as our alt text. Great. Let's just test our page, make sure, yep, cool, looks fine. I'm happy with that. I'm not going to bother adding any CSS for this one, and let's just go ahead and change our title to say project demo. All right, great. We have our page that we would like to deploy. Let's go ahead and go back to our terminal now. Right, and we're going to git add -a, and what that's gonna do is stage the images and the index.html that we added. Now we need to commit it. I'm going to commit using the -m option so I can provide a message. So I'm going to say add initial HTML and image and train image. There we go. All right, with that done, I'm ready to upload this to GitHub. So I'm going to go ahead and git push. And that's going to upload all my code to GitHub. All right. Now let's go back to github.com. We're going to go find our repo, and we'll refresh this page just to make sure that everything was successfully added to the repo. And we can see here I've got my index.html. It's important, right, that we see that when we're at the root of our project, index.html. Make sure you have that. And it needs to be named index.html if you're following along with this guide. So our last step here is to go over to the Settings tab. So looking across the top, we have Code, Issues, Pull Requests, etc. And at the end, there's Settings. So I'm going to click on the Settings tab. And then if we scroll down a ways, we're going to find the section under GitHub Pages. And what we're going to do is, instead of None here under Source, we want to click this drop down and choose Master. So what that's going to do is publish my master branch to GitHub Pages, and it will publish my index.html file if I have one. So that's why you want to make sure you include that. We're going to stick with the default here for /root, and then click Save. And you're going to see that your page is going to reload. And if we scroll down to the GitHub Pages section again, you're going to see that your site is ready to be published, which means it's not yet published. But it will be soon at this URL. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to copy the link address to my clipboard. And I'm going to go click on where it says Project Demo here, which is going to take me to the main page for this project. And just to make it easier to access this URL, I'm going to click over here on the right-hand side next to the green code button where it says About. If you look further to the right, there is a little gear. If you're not seeing that, your browser window may be too narrow. So you may have to expand that browser window out in order to see that. Make sure your browser window is wide enough. So now if I click on the gear, a little modal form pops up, and under website I can paste that URL I copied in and save changes. You don't have to do this part, it just makes it easier to find the URL for your published project. Now, let's see if it's done being published. I'm going to click Settings again and scroll down just to check. And now that it's turned green, I can tell that my site's published. So let's go ahead and click it. Make sure our site's published. Voila. That's all that there is to it. If I wanted to make changes to my site now, it's going to continuously update anytime I make changes, commit them, and push them up to the master branch. So I could go add more files, make modifications, add, commit, and then push those, and GitHub will update the published page. Thanks for watching.